us each and every day, and we're here to support them and give them some love as they deserve. And so really happy to have everyone out here, really happy to gather up. One person in particular has been in the community, out here supporting the community, doing what the city government should do, but hasn't done, has been helping the homeless. Good point to make. Yeah, we're here, spreading the word about the city workers, but, the best person to talk about that would be the future, the next mayor of New Brunswick, Charlie Cradiville. Everyone bring out Charlie Cradiville. Show some love to Charlie.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. Can I get my friends from DPW? Come on up here. Come behind me. How's everybody feeling today? Thank you all so much for joining me. Good morning, New Brunswick. And I want to be the first to wish you all a very happy Labor Day. It's so great to be here with my friends and supporters as we celebrate this wonderful holiday, and specifically the dedication of the men and women who work hard for us, the people of New Brunswick, day in and day out. Let's give it up for the city of New Brunswick's workforce, everybody. Now, I'm proud to be a union member myself, and solidarity means that we need to support each other, regardless of which union you're in or who's in charge of it, or even if you're not in a union at all. If you ask me, every worker deserves a strong union that will fight for them. But even if you're not fortunate enough to have that, you still deserve someone who will fight for you, and I, for one, am proud to fight for the workers of New Brunswick. So we're out here today in solidarity with all the workers, including the ones who have a union and those who don't. Solidarity is so important here. As I look around today, I'm reminded that we've got great folks in every department of the city who work hard to keep our city and our children safe, like our hardworking crossing guards. Give it up for them. And those who work to keep our city and its public facilities clean, like the fine people of the Department of Public Works, including sanitation, roads, and parks divisions. Give it up. Now, we're lucky to have public workers serving these important functions, but increasingly, the local and county governments have been privatizing critical, essential services. And that means we, the people, have less control over the services, and the workers have less control over their workplaces. You can see the difference when you compare the recycling service, which the county privatized, to our garbage pickup here in New Brunswick. When it comes to garbage, the great people behind me, many of whom actually live in New Brunswick, work hard to pick it up almost every single day. Meanwhile, the county hires a private company to do it, a company that recently got bought through a stock deal, changed names with no public input, no recourse. They're based out of Teaneck now. They send different people here every week, if they even show up at all. And they miss a lot of the pickups. It's happening all over. They're short-staffed, they're not able to meet the demand, and the workers are not treated with respect. Now, these positions are not easy, and many of them are dangerous. The COVID-19 pandemic and the recent cases of monkeypox have only underscored the bravery and the dedication of our sanitation workers. So we're here to demand some very basic things for the people who serve this city day in and day out. Number one, safe working conditions. You might not know this, but the union is currently in negotiations for their next contract for these hardworking men and women. And unfortunately, not all of the shop stewards have been able to be involved in the negotiation. So we're demanding today that the shop stewards be involved in the ongoing negotiations for the new contract. This next one was one that I thought was required by law, but we have to demand time and a half for all overtime. Also, holidays and Sundays. Most jobs you get that. These folks deserve nothing less. Demand number 4, improved communication with the management. What's been going on is unacceptable. They're just changing the rules with memos and not including the unions in the process. The unions must be consulted about any change to working conditions, and they deserve that communication with management. Number 5, all employees must be given the required breaks during their shifts. No ifs, ands, or buts. They deserve the breaks. The law says they get them, they get them. And finally, these workers have been coming through meeting after meeting at City Hall demanding something they should have gotten a long time ago, and that's hazard pay. All the staff at DPW that worked during the COVID-19 pandemic deserve hazard pay, and we're going to tell you a little bit about that later on. But now it's my pleasure to introduce a woman who's been an exceptional advocate for her colleagues, a fighter for truth and justice, and an asset to the city of New Brunswick. Brittany's brave enough to speak up when she encounters something that's not right and to take her complaints directly to the people in power. She's also smart enough to reach out to allies like the New Brunswick Today newspaper and collaborate with the other corruption fighters who attend the city council meetings. I first got to know Brittany earlier this year when she started attending those council meetings, and I'll say she gives me hope for the future of this city. I'm proud to call her my friend, and on this great holiday, I want to say thank you for your service to the city. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, Brittany Richardson.
Thank you so much for you guys. This is amazing. I wanted to write something, but I just figured it would be more genuine just to say how I feel. You know, Charlie is one of the people that this is not just about some campaign for him running for mayor. He's been with us, supporting us prior to that. I reached out to Charlie one time, just one time, trying to explain to him some of the things that we were concerned about that no one else seemed to be concerned about, because I took the proper route to do things, you know, behind the scenes. However, no one listened, no one cared, but Charlie did. Charlie listened to me one time. It took one email, and he reached out to me immediately because of his concern. So Charlie thanks us, but we thank him. We thank his campaign. We thank the people that are behind Charlie for supporting us. It's not a lot of people that support us and standing up for what we deserve and what we believe. I reached out to Cahill to explain to him the same things that I've explained with Charlie. And he told me that there are memos and orders to follow, and if you don't like it, find another job. He hung the phone up. And yeah, it's fine, because however, I believe in Charlie. Not because of all of this, because personally, if you need Charlie and it's something great to stand behind, he's going to fight hard for you. So does his colleagues and everyone behind him, especially Amber. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do. I want to take this time to thank my guys that stand behind me. Not every worker that you work with, a coworker, supports what you do and support you standing up for yourself. But these guys behind me supported me through everything. Without them, there is no me. I continue to work for a job in this fashion because, you know, some people will say, why you don't leave? Understand? But the people of this city make me continue on to want to work for this city. I grew up in this city and I want to contribute to this city. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do. You never know how strong you have to be until strong is all you have. Thank you guys so much.
Keep it going for Brittany Richardson, everybody. Thank you for your leadership, for your advocacy, and for your service to the great city of New Brunswick. Now, I have to say this again. On behalf of my campaign, Brittany, we are damn lucky to have you working for the city of New Brunswick. The labor movement, like any good movement for change, is about building community and fighting for truth and justice. Your work has been an inspiration to me and everyone else who's watching those council meetings. And I do want to say that we need more people at those council meetings to support Brittany and the rest of the city workers and to ask the tough questions of our leaders. Too often, stuff gets covered up here and the bad guys get away with bad deeds. And I'm here to stand with you all loud and proud and say, not on my watch. This is our city, and we just aren't going to accept the culture of corruption and cover-up that's become standard operating procedure here. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad deeds that have been going down. And they should be a major red flag for anyone who's supporting my opponent. This is shocking, but the people running this city were actually willing to put their own workers in harm's way to do a favor, a dirty deed, for Robert Wood Johnson Hospital. On February 2nd, 2021, the workers of the DPW were asked to make an unusual trip to the hospital to haul their contaminated medical waste during the height of the pandemic and improperly dispose it in the Middlesex County landfill. We have photo evidence of this that we will be sharing with the media and law enforcement. Our public workers deserve respect and a safe working environment, and they haven't been getting either. How little does the administration value its workers to put them in harm's way just because a power player like Robert Wood Johnson calls in a favor? This is unacceptable, and I will put an end to it when I'm mayor. Moreover, this incident is a clear violation of the Middlesex County Utilities Authority Solid Waste Division policies and procedures. Specifically, Section 3A, banned materials, clearly lists regulated medical waste as something that doesn't belong and isn't allowed in our landfill. So I'm calling for an immediate investigation by the MCUA, the New Jersey Department of Health, the New Jersey Department of Labor, and the federal government's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, better known as OSHA. And later today, I'll be submitting those photographs documenting this illegal dumping to the appropriate authorities. I'm also deeply concerned to hear about the use of child labor in our city's Department of Public Works. Studies have consistently ranked the role of sanitation worker as one of the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the United States. But this sick administration thinks it's okay to have children who are paid minimum wage do this work with no training. Honorable DPW workers raised this concern at the July 20th City Council meeting, but their concerns were ignored and brushed aside by the council. Quote, "They had children on my truck," exclaimed DPW's Harry DeCozy Jr., one of many employees who's left the DPW for a better job. Quote, 15 and 16 years old on my truck with me. He says one of the children almost fell off the back of the truck, which was going 35 to 40 miles an hour around the city streets. To do this to children was morally, ethically, and legally wrong. The city claims they investigated this and everything was on the up and up. But But they didn't read the Fair Labor Standards Act, which specifically states, quote, "No employee under 18 years may serve as an outside helper on a motor vehicle." And this law notes that that kind of work these kids were doing is, quote, "particularly hazardous for the employment of minors." Now, my campaign has spoken to multiple teenage employees who complained to us about how they were treated as part of this program. One of them, who wishes to remain anonymous, told us, quote, "We didn't have a decision to go to the trash. They never told us where we are going. They just took us to that area. They never asked us if we're okay with it or trained us at all. We just had to throw heavy trash till 1 p.m. without breaks. Even for myself, it was hard to stay on the truck because of the speed." Ladies and gentlemen, this is just plain wrong. Both of these incidents demonstrate that my opponent's administration doesn't care about anyone but themselves and their other rich and powerful elite friends. If they can't even stand up to these abuses when the children of New Brunswick were the victims, how can we expect them to stand up for any city resident? But let's talk about money. In September 2018, the mayor stood right where I'm standing and said he supports the fight for 15. Then why were these kids getting paid $13 an hour? Why were they hired to undercut the union agreement in place with the sanitation workers? Mr. Mayor, your words during election season don't match up with the actions you take in your official office. 4 years ago, I laid out my detailed plans to raise wages for the city workers who were being paid the least and get everyone at least to $15 an hour. Unfortunately, the mayor did not live up to my vision for how the city should compensate its workers. In fact, when the COVID-19 pandemic came upon us in 2020, he devastated hundreds of families by furloughing 272 workers. My reporting was what actually revealed the 272 workers he furloughed, taking away their hours and their pay in the middle of a true state of emergency. Now, more than 2 years later, the public servants standing behind me have been respectfully calling for his administration to use the COVID relief funds provided to the city by the federal government to do what many other cities have done, and compensate them for the risks that they took during the height of the pandemic. Riding together in those hot garbage trucks, hauling the garbage day in, day out, when others were told to work from home, to maintain social distancing, that wasn't always an option for these fine people. Many of them caught the virus, and it's because the city didn't take it seriously and didn't care about them. Now, these funds were meant to support our community during an incredibly difficult time, and hazard pay for essential workers would have been a critical use of those resources. But what we've now learned is also shocking. In response to a recent Oprah request filed by my campaign, the city admitted it hasn't spent a single dollar of the federal funding they received for COVID relief. I couldn't believe it either. But they've squandered an opportunity to help our community and failed miserably to protect and support our workers. So I think we can all agree that this isn't okay, that the people behind me deserve a lot better, and if we expect our city government to work well, we need to treat the people who make it work well. And I just wanted to say one more thing, but building community is the key to winning these struggles. So 4 years ago, I worked with other community leaders to push the city to raise wages for our crossing guards. And not unlike the sanitation staff, those crossing guards put themselves at risk to protect the public. Not unlike the sanitation staff, the city was having a hard time filling the positions because they weren't paying people well. But because we worked together, built public and political pressure on the administration, in October 2018, we won the crossing guards a well-deserved raise. And if you ask me, it's time for another well-deserved raise for them. So the most important takeaway here is that if we work together, if we all have each other's backs, stand up for one another when we are in need of support, and we fight for truth and justice together as a community, there will be no stopping us. Together we can win, together we will win. Onward and upward, solidarity forever. Thank you, New Brunswick.